A hot, dry fall could be real dangerous for wildfires after a summer without much rain.
I'm a Colorado native, so kind of used to the fires.
The father of the King Soopers shooter testifies in court, straight up calls him crazy. An election conspiracy theorist from Colorado is asking for the public's help in paying his $1,000 a day fine. It's that, or turn over his supposed evidence to a judge. And Latinas in Denver working together to diversify an industry that's really, really white.
I knew I needed my community and I knew I needed support to back me up.
All that tonight on Next.
Colorado's Front Range didn't get a lot of rain this summer. That sets up a dangerous fall fire season that's already underway in Larimer County. Mark Salinger joins us from Red Feather Lakes, where firefighters are battling the Pearl Fire for a second day. Mark?
Yeah, Kyle, this is the road behind me that goes up to Red Feather Lakes here in Larimer County. And for much of the day today, this road has been filled with a constant stream of fire trucks as more firefighters go up into that community to continue fighting this wildfire. It's a small wildfire, just about 128 acres, but they are really worried about it, in part because of some of the storms that moved through today, which brought 40-mile-an-hour winds and some rain, which will hopefully be a good thing.
Welcome everyone. Thanks so much for joining us on this beautiful windy day.
This is the time of year where press conferences like this can become common in Colorado.
West winds at 40 miles an hour after what we saw this fire do yesterday. Absolutely we're concerned.
Firefighters in Larimer County continue to battle the Pearl Fire. It's small, but the number of resources brought in to fight it shows how worried they are about the flames spreading.
The choppers, I mean, they were just roof height on my cabin. Just back and forth to the lake, back and forth. There was probably, at one time, I think there was about 6 of them.
Mike Kind evacuated from his cabin outside Red Feather Lakes. He knows it's been hot and dry here for a long time.
It was intense, it was scary. There was a lot of smoke. I mean, we saw it right when it first started.
We've had areas that have been pretty wet throughout the summer, and within a few miles, it's been like almost historically dry. So it's hard to say that it's been a wet summer or a dry summer because it's been so variable.
The biggest fires Colorado has ever seen burned in the fall of 2020. It's dry again this year, but there are some differences that give meteorologists like our Chris Bianchi some hope that fires don't explode like they did 4 years ago.
So the mountains right now are in pretty good shape because we saw a lot of rain in August. The Front Range, not as good because we've been so dry and we didn't see nearly as much rain along the Front Range as they saw in the mountains.
The mountains might look better, but we've already seen lots of fires up and down the Front Range.
Front Range is wettest time of the year on average, May, June, July. We did not get nearly the rain that we typically get during that time span.
I'm a Colorado native, so kind of used to the fires and this and that.
Fires are a part of life here. Rain helps calm the nerves of a community dealing with yet another evacuation.
I feel a lot better. It's raining up there right now.
The Climate Prediction Center at NOAA put out their seasonal forecast for the next couple of months just a couple days ago, and they're predicting more hot and dry weather in Colorado for months to come. Of course, now we're heading into winter and we'll see exactly what happens. The fire managers here right now, Kyle, are hoping that potential precipitation in the next couple of days, even a chance of potential snow this weekend, helps tame these flames and they can get control of it.
You just said potential precipitation on live TV, which is like a figure skater nailing a triple Lutz. That's very impressive. But the winds, I want to ask you about the winds. That, of course, would impact everything from the way the fire moved today to the ability for the fire managers to gather people together to talk about it.
Yeah, all that potential precipitation, that's a tongue twister right there. That's what they're looking forward to. Today, they got just a little bit of rain, not a whole lot, but they did get a lot of wind. And the problem is that wind was pushing the fire towards homes. That's what they're really worried about. Another problem with the wind is that they had to ground all of their airplanes and helicopters that were making water drops because those 40-mile-an-hour gusts were simply too much for those planes to fly in.
All right. Mark Salinger up in Larimer County for us, skating through another fine live report. Thank you, Mark. Turn to meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen, leaving the potential precipitation to the side. That's difficult. I don't know how y'all do it. Those winds that moved through the metro area today were really something fierce, but short-lived.
Yeah, an unusual scene for middle of September to get that much severe weather, but at least on the Front Range, that is now clear of us out onto the eastern plains for now. You can see on live radar these storms kind of pushing up into the northeast corner. There are a couple of severe weather alerts right out in front of these storms, and that is for, once again, the winds pushing out in front. We have not seen a single report of large hail across the state of Colorado today, with all those severe weather warnings, all wind. Here's some big wind gusts that we saw. These are the highest recorded in the state. 75 in Rush, just east of Colorado Springs. Sterling checking in, Lamar, and a couple of other spots near Colorado Springs. As far as the Denver area, we ended up in the 45 to 60 mile per hour range today, which is about 10 miles an hour away from what we consider a damaging wind. So we kind of skated a little bit, but tomorrow the wind gusts will be back, and these are not thunderstorm wind gusts that we're expecting up here in the northern Front Range mountains, but those are synoptic scale winds is what we call those. And again, we could hit 30 to 40 mile per hour winds around that fire zone tomorrow in northern Larimer County, and then it settles down. But as far as the day here in Denver, nothing but sunshine, beautiful temperatures, in the low 80s, classic fall day here. And as we look at the 7-day forecast, we'll get about 3 really nice warm days here with lots of sunshine before the next storm system comes in. And we're expecting some upslope rain. So if you're not familiar with that, it's more of a stratus layer rain, which covers more ground than a thunderstorm. So 65% chance of rain there, 65% coverage, and that could trickle on into Sunday morning, where we have the official start of fall with the equinox.
Upslope rain. Learn something new today. Any day you learn something is a good day. The father of the King Soopers shooter testified in court today, described his son as initially a normal kid, said he was fun and intelligent, but he said he saw his son's mental health slip in the years that led up to the shooting in 2021. Mustafa Alyssa said that he knew that his son had a gun, knew that he'd been target shooting, but said he never expected his son could do something terrible, like walk into a grocery store and kill 10 people. He said his son became withdrawn and paranoid starting in high school. He testified today with the help of an interpreter, describing his son as crazy and possessed.
It's shameful in our culture. If we say that our son is crazy, it's going to have a negative feedback in our community, and also we were thinking probably, and this is just our background and our culture. We thought probably he was possessed by spirits or something.
Today's testimony focused on the shooter's mental health. Multiple doctors have diagnosed him with schizophrenia. Prosecutors will have to convince a jury that he was sane on the day of the shooting. The defense could wrap up its case by the end of the week. The Mountain View Town Council member accused of shooting a teenager in the face for trespassing now faces a number of charges. A teenager and a friend say that they had stopped at the property in the foothills to ask if they might take homecoming pictures there. Brent Metz is now charged with second-degree assault, menacing, and illegal discharge of a firearm. He allegedly shot that 17-year-old in Conifer earlier this month. Investigators say the victim and his 15-year-old friend were looking for the owner of the home so they could ask if they could take pictures there. When nobody answered, they went back to their car, parked off the property to write a note to leave on the door. And that is when Metz, the homeowner's boyfriend, allegedly pulled up beside them, blocked their car, and fired his gun through the windshield. According to the teenagers, Metz said, "Oh blank, my gun went off." An election conspiracy theorist facing a $1,000 a day fine until he turns over his evidence to a judge is now crowdfunding, asking the public to help pay that fine. Joe Altman from Douglas County was the source of the claim that Denver-based Dominion voting system worked with Antifa to rig the 2020 election against Donald Trump, a claim without evidence that was eventually echoed by Donald Trump himself. Altman and his conservative allies face defamation lawsuits for that, and in one of them, Altman's been ordered to provide his evidence or pay the man he accused of rigging the election $1,000 a day. Altman now has a new crowdfunding page asking for money, seeming admission that he's going to pay that daily fine to avoid risking jail time. Now, Altman had previously said he was not going to pay this man a dime. Today, attorneys for that former Dominion employee that Altman directly accused pointed to his statement saying that Altman's non-compliance will have to be brought to the attention of the court in the future. It will be up to the judge to decide whether to put Altman in jail if he doesn't pony up the evidence or the $1,000 a day. So Joe Oltmann is not the only one facing a $1,000 daily fine until he complies with a court order. Several strip clubs in Denver could soon face the same fine if they don't cooperate with a wage theft investigation. $1,000 a day, that is a fat stack of singles. The Denver Auditor's Office says it's investigating wage theft at PT Show Club, Diamond Cabaret, and PT Centerfold. They're investigating whether those strip clubs were misclassifying dancers in order to avoid paying them minimum wage, overtime, and earned tips. The Auditor's Office says the clubs won't produce any financial records. City Council voted earlier this year to give the Auditor's Office subpoena power, and this is the first time they've used it. They're demanding 3 years' worth of the strip club's contracts and contact information, payment records for dancers at each location, or else those clubs get hit with a $1,000 a day fine. An attorney for the clubs called the subpoena an overreach, said it's an excessive request that they feel endangers their employees' privacy. They said the clubs are prepared to go to court to fight it.
Righting a wrongness on the books, that's really what this is all about.
Dozens of Colorado's faith leaders call on Coloradans to overturn the state's constitutional ban on same-sex marriage. Denver is winding down its remaining migrant aid programs. There's been such a drastic drop-off in new arrivals. And in an industry dominated by white guys, Latinas are making progress. We'll introduce you to the Coloradans diversifying their line of work next. Denver's winding down the majority of its migrant services, including its asylum seeker program. There's been a significant slowdown in new arrivals from the border in recent months. The situation now is nothing like it was at the beginning of 2024 when Denver was serving 4,000 or 5,000 migrants a day. Last night, City Council approved $6 million to provide services for the final 800 people in the asylum seeker program, which offers legal assistance, English classes, job training, and housing. It'll wrap up early next year as the city reduces its migrant services budget from $90 million this year to about $12 million next. Given how few migrants are arriving here these days, we asked the city where $12 million is going to go next year. City spokesperson says that is yet to be decided, but they are not cutting off services for migrants altogether. Denver is currently closing its final migrant shelters that are still in operation and ending the program that paid for bus tickets for migrants who wanted to leave town. This November, Coloradans will be asked to overturn the state's constitutional ban on same-sex marriage. It's a formality, really, because federal law has blocked that ban for years. But when advocates said, all right, let's get rid of it, it drew significant opposition from Republican legislators. To show you how the ground has shifted, though, beneath the feet of opponents of same-sex marriage in the last decade, supporters now include a coalition of dozens of faith leaders in our state. Nearly 80 religious leaders from a variety of faith traditions have publicly voiced support for this constitutional amendment that would remove the language from the state constitution defining marriage as between a man and a woman. It hasn't been enforced since the Supreme Court legalized gay marriage in 2015, but state Democrats pushed to update the protections at the state level this year in case the conservative Supreme Court eliminates the right to gay marriage as it nixed the right to abortion. A coalition of faith leaders said that they were inspired to support the ballot initiative after hearing, quote, far-right extremists attempting to misuse religion as a justification for hatred and discrimination.
In our congregation, we have very active people who are gay, who are lesbian, who are transgender, who are bisexual. We do officiate at same-gender weddings, and we do it with great love. And some of the most active and most important members of our congregation are LGBTQ+, and we wouldn't change that for a second.
So who are they up against? Well, not sure. There is not an organized opposition committee to the amendment that's been officially filed with the state yet. The Colorado Republican Party's website lists the party as being neutral on that ballot initiative. That comes after the party's chair, Dave Williams, faced widespread criticism from fellow Republicans for sending out homophobic emails this year, including one titled, God Hates Flags.
Whether it's technical or not, I think it's really important for us to be in the room.
For Latinas trying to break into the volatile tech industry in Colorado, it takes a village. That's next. The tech industry has certainly seen a lot of change, years of explosive growth, and now layoffs, job freezes. In an industry that frankly does not have a lot of diversity, there's an organization here in Denver working to make sure that more of the community has access to the opportunities that do exist. Our Angeline McCall has the story.
Across Denver, there's hundreds of people who want a chance leaning on a community to help.
I found it really, really difficult to transition into tech, especially this last year, which is why I knew I needed my community and I knew I needed support to back me up.
Talia Giraldo is a data analyst with the International Association for the Study of Lung Cancer.
And I think that's part of what our community brings, just this diversity of experience, and whether it's technical or not, I think it's really important for us to be in the room.
Talia wanted to make the transition to tech.
And the transition was very hard.
It took a networking group, a community to help, found in Latinas in Tech.
You need to be able to see yourself in certain places, in certain spaces. You need to be able to have a community where you can go back to and say, this is the difficulty, this is the challenge that I'm navigating.
Aymara Rodriguez is one of the chapter leads. She started in tech 12 years ago.
I was the only woman in the room. I was certainly the only Latina in the room. And if we're being candid, that brings about experiences where people doubt you, they don't listen to you.
With some tech companies experiencing layoffs, restructuring, and hiring freezes, it's a time when the community needs each other even more.
While we can't technically influence or change the external market and what's happening in the external market, what we can do is help guide the path.
For Talia's job, they reached out to HR in hopes to get her in the room where she is now.
But whenever I meet someone else that's in data analytics or just in general in tech, there's a lot of excitement because we know we're the only ones in the room a lot of times.
Latinas in Tech is a national organization, but the group here has more than 400 members, and it's only been running for a few years, so they've been growing really quickly, and a lot of really great feedback from the community as well, Kyle.
It seems so important because at a time when an industry contracts, like it could go a couple of different ways, but one thing that could happen is it could become kind of even more insular, right? It could become even more of an insider's club as it shrinks a bit.
Yeah, something that Talia was mentioning is that when you have people, right, who are laid off or restructured companies, you have people with a lot of experience in tech that are also looking for jobs. And then when you have people wanting to get their jump start, perhaps people with less experience, that actually makes it much harder for them. And then it makes it even harder for people who are diverse, right, to make sure that they have a seat at the table.
Not unlike challenges in journalism today, another industry that has seen some growing pains. Angeline McCall, thank you very much. We are back with your feedback next. Thank you. It's a sign of a real estate market in distress. Melanie sent us this sign for some very short-term office space in Cherry Creek. You love the open floor plan, but it feels like it might be noisy and maybe drafty and perhaps a touch dusty. If you see a sign that makes you do a double take, email it to next@9news.com or get this, you can now text NEXT at 303-871-1491. That's right, text NEXT at 303-871-1491. Feedback from Bob and Mary who say, we'd like to thank you for how much we enjoy your show. You ask the big questions and you keep us informed. Bob and Mary, let me tell you how that works. It's an exceptional team, on air and off, working on Next every day, looking to intentionally tackle the tougher topics, things that might be glossed over elsewhere, understanding we're never going to cover it in one report, so with your patience and understanding, we'll keep returning to those big issues time after time. We'll see you next time.